Okay, guys, I got something to ask you all. Have you all heard of this thing called skibidi toilet?
Yes.
Skibidi toilet, no.
Okay, since Prakash has heard of skibidi toilet, mind explaining what do you understand about that?
I've never seen it, but I've heard. I don't even know where is it from, but I've heard kids, not my kids in particular, but I've heard other kids around them also, like, you know, uttering that, and I have not bothered looking up, but I've seen some memes about it as well, skibidi toilet and all that. So
Okay, since we know there's a bit lost.
Puzzled.
Lost about this. This thing I just found out about it, I think last week or something like that. My niece, who is I think about that age of discovering stuff like that, right? She was asking me like, "Hey, have you watched skibidi toilet? Have you watched that thing before?" I said, "What the hell is skibidi toilet? I've never heard of it." Then she asked me like, "Just look it up on YouTube lah." So here I was looking at my phone. I just went through YouTube and saw the thing called skibidi toilet. What it is, according to me lah, I mean, from what I can see, is just that it's a character, a head that emerges from a toilet bowl. That's it.
Oh,
It's a toilet bowl kulla or manda, and that head actually goes around like, you know, it reacts or moves in a way very weirdly lah. And from, I think they have about close to 70 episodes of those.
Serious?
Things. Yeah, and it's very popular among the kids. Kids are really into it, and from what I can understand from that particular show, or
you
whatever,
guys cancel Firefly, and this is going on for 70 episodes.
So what I can understand from each episode is that toilet shaped thing or the head or whatever goes to war against a military force or something.
I have to look it up. Just keep talking. This okay.
So it's this thing with like a toilet kulla or manda, and the manda vandu like it goes like that, and then it just
What the
it just practically attacks the military lah. So my niece, when she told me about this, and I asked her like, "Why are you watching it?" She said, "No, it's fun, it's funny, it's cool and stuff like that lah." And she told me one of her classmates in school, I think she's in Form 1 now, and she said that one of her classmates, a Malay guy, he can imitate that skibidi toilet very well, like doing the hair like that. And I'm like,
So is it like safe to say like this is in our generation the equivalent to this was like probably South Park? No?
No.
Oh, it's way worse than that, is it?
It's. I've seen better looking horror movies. That's for sure.
I would look at it as something like a crazy frog, I guess. I don't know.
No, there's an annoying orange.
Yes,
okay.
Annoying orange, yes,
Annoying
yes.
orange could be
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
more or less that.
Skibidi toilet, huh? Okay, I'll go home and check it out.
Toilet போனா கக்கா இல்ல உச்சா போவோம். இவங்க என்ன பண்றான்னு தெரியல.
And kids find this amusing, is it?
It's funny. I seriously have no idea.
Was it like made for kids or?
What I was not really like
I think
investing
it's-
too much into it.
From the looks of it, I think it's something that was random. Same like annoying orange, right? I don't think it was specifically made for kids, but you know, kids of that generation, you know, got hooked to it, and same with this the skibidi toilet thing. I'll never, I don't understand it, but you know what? I'll load some episodes and watch it at home later.
Yeah, if you guys have never watched it, please go and watch the skibidi toilet. Don't say that we are bad influence or whatever. Okay, sorry. Okay, break it. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Blackseed Theory. If you have watched our previous episodes, we would like to appreciate your support and thank you so much for all the comments and feedback, especially on our last episode. We finally had a guest, and I think from that episode, a lot of feedback, and especially those from the industry as well. I think we have a lot of feedback that we receive, and we are quite appreciative of it. And if this is your first time watching the Blackseed Theory, right after watching that episode 3, please do. And if you like what you're watching, and if you want to know more, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also subscribe us on YouTube and also on Spotify. I keep forgetting Spotify. Spotify Monday there. And today's episode, tonight, yesterday, next week,
Spotify podcast is for the elite lah.
Yeah, I would say the elite lah. Elite people watch that episode. But today's episode is going to be just three of us. And I think I'll start this episode by asking either one of you guys, when was the last time you watched a movie in the cinema?
Been a while because I'm too busy with children. So we have to wait until the children are not around. And then we can go to the cinema. Because it's very hard to bring them to a movie which we're going to watch. Probably the last time we went was probably the Paw Patrol movie, like somewhere in the age of last year.
I think like November, right? November, school holidays.
Something like that. Yeah, that's it. And then aside from that, no, I never really had a time to go and watch in the cinema. It's the parent life. I can't remember the last time I did.
But when you watched that, did you watch it in like a regular cinema or did you go to one of those kid-friendly cinemas?
I went and watched it in a regular cinema. Because the cinema is filled with kids anyway lah. But I enjoyed it. I like the movie. It's very good. I recommend it. I highly recommend it for all adults as well.
What about you, Vinod? Kadisiya paatha padam in cinema?
I think I don't have kids, but I don't know what I'm busy with. I think the last one was Jailer lah.
Jailer,
Yeah. So Jailer patti solnona, like, I don't have much to talk about the movie. It was a good entertaining movie lah. I always put in my Facebook and say there's two different things. One, as a good that are good movies, or as a good Rajinikanth movie. Jailer was a good Rajinikanth movie lah. I liked it. If generally you're gonna call it a good movie, also I think it was good. It was very entertaining, and I liked. This was Nelson's movie, right?
Yep.
Was it Nelson's? Yeah. So I think he did a pretty good job lah. But that was it, and I watched it in a normal cinema only lah. So cinematic experience அப்படின்னு சொல்ல போனா like it's nothing much lah. But then it was okay. So that was it lah. Jailer lah. I wanted to really watch Dune 2, but I couldn't. Like I don't know what I was busy with lah. But
waiting for streaming lah because I was legit busy.
I really wanted to watch Dune 2 as well, but I think the first one. So I guess I watched it right after the whole fad of Dune. The first one was completely died off, and then I watched it in IMAX. Fortunate enough to watch it in the IMAX cinema at that time lah. And it was such a fantastic movie lah. I mean, the first one was
the first one was fantastic.
The first one was very good. Then second one, I don't have kids at the same time, but I have something that can constitute as a kid. So and the time.
He has a dog.
So time spent பண்ணோம். It's another story. But for me, I think the last movie I watched in the cinema was quite recent actually. It was on last Tuesday. I watched Sheriff. And I
heard about it a bit.
I'm not really I wouldn't say I'm really into the local film industries or local movies. I think I have said it before previously. I think the last episode I mentioned about it. Not really into local cinema. Not because I'm an elite guy or whatever. Never really paid attention to it. So I think Sheriff was directed by Shafiq Yusof, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. So Shafiq Yusof's movie, and I mean, if you look at the history, a bit of that history of that guy, the backstory of that guy, his family comes from the Grahas, all these kind of movies, right? So this movie to me, it's not I went in without any expectations. It was a packed hall. It was still pretty packed. I think it's on the third week of playing, or so I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And the cinemas were packed, and we booked a couple seat, and still we thought once the movies were playing, right, full நிறைய பேர் இருந்தானுங்க. And I was pleasantly surprised with that movie because it was unexpected. Especially since I went there without any expectations, obviously it's going to be unexpected. The storyline sort of goes here and there. There is some predictable plot points you can find, but then towards the end, I'm like, oh holy shit, not bad. Oh, they were trying to do something and then that was the last time I went to a cinema. And prior to that, I've never been to a cinema since. Not because of any specific reason. It's just that I don't know, the whole cinema going experience drop ஆயிடுச்சு எனக்கு. I think the last movie prior to that was Animal, which I have a lot of thoughts on lah. But I think
We'll get to animal in a
We'll
bit.
get to animal. We'll get to animal.
in a bit.
Yes.
But then like I also wanted to ask you guys, like prior to Sheriff, right? Sheriff is a local film, isn't it? Any other non-local Tamil films have you guys watched in cinema?
Okay, this was actually in my list of what I wanted to talk about. So I will. This is a very special movie to me actually. It's a movie that I adore a lot. It's ridiculous, but back in 2007, I went to the cinema to watch this Malay movie called Zombie Kampung Pisang. Okay, it's done by the late Mamat Khalid. And the reason I adore this movie is because it's easy to label it as a Shaun of the Dead ripoff, because it is kind of the same plot, right? There is a loser main character, zombies, this guy running around.
Like how different can a zombie flick be also, right?
But it's not so much as a ripoff than tribute to both Shaun of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead. And if you actually watch it, it dials the silliness right up to about 999. It's way sillier than Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is a very good parody movie, probably one of the best I've watched. But Zombie Kampung Pisang, right? I would dare to say it stands beside it because it just goes in a different direction. It goes like completely zany. You have this main character who has this low self-esteem because he failed SPM. The running joke throughout the movie is, aku gagal SPM. Dulu tak ada wawasan, sekarang ada wawasan. And all the time randomly the guy has like some PSA to tell people kepada semua rakyat Malaysia. Janganlah buat vandalisme. Janganlah hisap dada. Then he takes a guitar out of nowhere and starts playing and sings. It's a very silly movie. It goes like completely nuts. And when I went and watched it in the cinema, there's only 3 of us, me and 2 other Chinese guys. The rest were all Malay crowd, and we were laughing louder than the Malay. So yeah, I do watch non-Tamil local movies off and on, like those Gerak Khas Ops and all those things. I've watched them. They're good, but nothing has stole my heart like Zombie Kampung Pisang. I'm serious. I love that movie. Please watch it. Open your mind. Have fun. It's damn good.
I think he has made another good movies as well, like the Puasa 12, Puasa 13.
I think he had a spiritual successor to it also, which was good, which was quite good, but just for me it doesn't match Zombie Kampung Pisang. Yeah.
Hantu Mak Lima.
Hantu Kak Lima.
Hantu Kak Lima, bukan Mak Lima.
It's sort of a spiritual successor lah. It's good. It's very good. It's very funny.
I watched that in the cinema. I watched that in the cinema.
Yeah.
I don't know lah. The thing about like comedy horror, right? Something about it I memang tak boleh angkat lah. So I've always refrained from watching those films. But I mean, if it's entertaining,
It has to be
it's
good lah.
okay
For
lah. But
example,
I've never
if
really
you-
tried. Probably I try lah because after
If you
you
take
say-
Scary Movie, right, the series, right, only the first and second one was good.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very not easy to make lah, technically.
For me, I watched one. Okay, prior to like watching this, I actually only watched one Malay movie in the cinema lah. But prior to that, of course, growing up, we didn't have Astro that time. We always spoke about this, right? So there's always like all these tele movies in Cedekarama. Like I think it's 9 o'clock every Friday in the 90s, right? So that time, we watched like few like the drama kind of movies, and then of course the famous movies in the 90s, Malay movies like X-Ray, Scenario, all that was like funny stuff lah. But in the cinema that I watched, the movie that I watched in 2011 was Bunohan. Bunohan is arahan Dain Said.
Oh, okay.
Dain Said is a he's one of my favorite directors, local directors. He's very visionary, and his movies are always like very raw. So I don't know if you heard about this movie Dukun that was banned, right? That was by Dain Said, if I'm not mistaken lah. So Bunohan was about Thai kickboxing. I think it takes place in this place called Kampung Bunohan.
Sorry to interject, but is it a recent movie or quite some time?
2011.
2011.
Right.
It was in Kampung Bunohan. I think it's bordering Kelantan and Thailand lah. So like at the borders, they have that mix of Thai people and Malays.
Yes.
So that kind of story, and it was very raw, and it's about kickboxing. And the actor's name is tall guy, Faisal Hussein.
Oh, yeah.
Faisal Hussein's movie, and it's not like a hoo-ha movie, but it was like I liked it because it was very artistic. One thing, it has a very simple story also, but the movie, the visuals were very beautiful. The music, the visuals were very beautiful. How the story runs is also like it's very captivating, at least for me lah. It's very like, it's about like art film like that, but not exactly art film. It's like borderline art film like that. But that one movie really, I really liked it lah. But this was in 2011. Like, how do I put it? It's like the Red Redemption, but a bit watered down a bit. So Dayan Said, I like his work lah. But he has some new movies. I have yet to watch it, but I will also.
I think local படம் பத்தி பேசும்போது I think we didn't mention any Tamil movies, right?
No, I haven't lah. We mention it. I watched
spoke
a couple
about it
lah,
the
of
last
course.
episode.
Yeah, I think I watched Jagat in cinema and a couple of other movies lah. I can't really remember it well lah, but I did watch a few.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for just particularly you or whatever. I can just speak for everybody. Like, do you feel like do you feel like you are more inclined to watch a local Tamil movie? What do you think?
It depends. பார்க்க மாட்டேன் அப்படின்லாம் ஒன்றும் against ஆல. Like I told you, I don't know what I'm busy with. I'm just usually I don't go to cinema. But if it's like talked about a lot, then I want to check it out.
It's really subjective for me. Because even if you're talking about Tamil movies from India or Indian movies in general, right? It has to pique my interest because one thing we have to know is that from India specifically, they produce a lot of movies, right?
Yep.
It's one of the industries that produce probably the most amount of movies. Right now, I guess China is definitely catching up. So I can't dedicate to myself to be watching every crap that comes out in the cinema. I'm going to be honest. So whether it's local Tamil movies or even Tamil movies from India or even Indian movies for that matter, which includes Hindi, Malayalam and all that, right? I'm very selective over it. So I have a very few amount of Indian movies that I like and keep close. So, one example I would give comes way back from the 80s actually, right? There's this movie called Vikram. It was released in 1986. It's not to be mistaken with the new Vikram, which was 2022, which is actually a sequel to that original 1986.
Can we say it's like a spiritual successor or whatever? Can we say that?
I call it a spiritual successor, but it's also a sequel in a way, right? It's an improvement technically. But what made me like Vikram was because, the character of Vikram is actually something like a raw agent. A raw agent is like FBI, CIA, that kind of black ops
Special
kind
agents
of guy and all this kind of thing. And he goes on a mission to disarm a warhead which was held by a fictitious country, technically a fictitious country, and he basically saves the world.
I'm trying to remember that country. Can't remember. But
Salamia. Salamia does not exist, right? Okay. So Vikram is, a lot of people tend to dismiss him as a ripoff of Indiana Jones, James Bond kind of a character, but not to sound like the comedy skit goodness gracious me saying that, we Indians invented everything. No. But Vikram predates what we know now as Uncharted's Nathan Drake. If anyone is familiar with Uncharted, not the movie, stop thinking about the movie, please. It's horrible.
The movie is
it's
dog
the
shit.
game series where Nathan Drake is technically a ripoff of Indiana Jones. But he goes way further than that. He has the traits of Indiana Jones. He has the traits of James Bond, but he has a whole personality of himself, right? He's technically like, in a way like Spider-Man, talks to himself, makes jokes himself while he's climbing dangerous ledges and all this kind of thing. He has his own personality. And Vikram predates that. Vikram is that, He has the traits of Indiana Jones. He has the traits of James Bond. In fact, there is a whole scene in the movie where it sort of pays a silly homage to the Indiana Jones scene where Indiana Jones shoots the guy with the sword, right? In this one, instead of shooting the guy who's coming at him, he decides to do some magic trick and gives him a flower and walks off. Right? It's funny. But it's critically disliked at that point. And supposedly it was financially successful. Some quarters say it was a flop. My parents didn't like it. But what stuck to me is that I felt this hero was so cool at that point, because, right, 80s, when we spoke to Sun-J the last episode, right, he said about 80s movies and all that, right, they had this very typical storyline of the working class hero fighting the typically rich man and all this kind of
rich
thing.
and evil.
And then we get a movie like Vikram, right? This guy is not a working class guy, right? He is some super spy thing and all this kind of thing. he's able to do a lot of cool stuff, right? He's also toxic masculine.
Oh yeah.
He displayed maximum toxic masculinity in the movie. And I liked this character so much because he had that kind of a cool personality to me. And, you know, when they did the follow-up, when they teased the follow-up in 2022, I was very skeptical because I thought they were going to remake the movie. And I was like, please don't remake. Remakes are shit. Right? And I was very happy when they did it, when they did Vikram justice, because they not only did a good follow-up, they made him cooler. They sort of rewrote his past a bit, made him way cooler than what he was. But you know, that movie, that's one of the rare Indian movies I really keep to heart. That's my preference, lah. You know.
I think that movie specifically, that toxic masculinity part, I think more or less that scene where I think he speaks to one of the female actresses like, she will just say something like, I can do anything a man can do, or something like that. He will say like, it's
typical 80s lah. What can you say?
So he challenges her like, I'm going to take off my shirt. Can you?
He puts Ranvijay to shame lah. Ranvijay apre paduthirala.
Ranvijay wasn't.
But speaking of remakes and stuff, I recently I watched one remake which I think in a way beats the original lah, which is Avve Shanmugi lah. I think it's one of those movies where you can watch and you can never get tired of it. That was the magic of that 90s era.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies with good screenplays.
Good. I mean, that particular moment in time, right, in the 90s, I think for me personally, the peak of Tamil cinema was somewhere in between of the late 80s and I mean Tamil cinema as in Hollywood. Inge patti pesala. Please, in case you all are wondering, but I think early 90s, mid 90s, those were the golden generation of cinema for me. Like how it's going to be a football reference here. It's like how that in the 2000s you had all these players from England that they were labeled as the golden generation because they were all like so good at what they are supposed to do and was expected to be a success, but they were not a success.
I only know Cantona.
But I know a few lah.
But here in this one, I feel that in the 90s, I think we had very silly stories, very simple stories, very captivating stories. Were quite simple, but still can be strong.
I think
until
even
today,
when Avve Shanmugi came out, it was very easy to dismiss as Kamal Haasan was ripping off Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes, correct.
It's inspired by that.
Inspired,
yes,
yeah. I don't think it's a direct,
but what he did was very unique. It was adjusted according to
correct.
It's very unique. Yeah.
Speaking on that particular movie, so it kind of reminded me of that once great director, which is K.S. Ravikumar, which I feel that he just had the magic wand whenever he was making a movie.
He had a momentum.
Whatever movies that he made were just like keep going up and up and up. Especially, there's a lot of movies I can mention, but Avve Shanmugi வந்து ஒரு படம் that I feel, in case you all never watch, I mean, if you've never watched Avve Shanmugi, where do you live? In which planet are you from? Unless you're a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, you must watch that movie. It's a fantastic movie. I think it's much better than Mrs. Doubtfire.
But I always like combo of Crazy Mohan and Kamal Haasan.
Oh yes,
that is crazy shit. Crazy shit as in
one of my
like good
favorites.
crazy. It's like what I like about Crazy Mohan's writing is not only the characters in the movie will be so confused, you'll be confused. Everyone will be just confused, until they shed some clarity into it.
Hence the moniker.
And it's like a very complex timeline, there's a lot of things are going in. Like Michael Madana Kamaraj, I don't know whether it's written by Crazy Mohan, but I like the confusion in the movie, right? Yeah. It's memang it's very good lah, the confusion part. So we spoke about Vikram and the golden era of 90s Tamil films in 90s, right? Even like in the 80s also, like recently I watched Agni Nachitram. Very simple story. It's a very simple story, but the sense of nostalgic and how it was made, I think I really liked it, and coupled with good songs, the time Ilayaraja songs, right? And that's like the movies, like you don't want to skip any songs, you like just watch, this song is good, and then everything is like everything is laid out well, and but it's such a simple story, And we've seen that kind of stories like throughout Tamil films. There's a lot. I think like Nerukku Ner, when there's like two enemies and then they come together for a good cause or whatever lah,
Yeah.
to tackle someone.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, yesterday I watched this movie called RDX.
Okay.
Okay, it's on Netflix. It's a Malayalam film.
I'm processing it. I think I've never watched it.
Malayalam movie.
Is this something to do with explosives?
No, it's Robert, Donnie, and Xavier. So RDX.
I'm mildly disappointed, but let's go.
But this movie, it's not your regular Malayalam film lah.
Alright.
Malayalam film, they have, there's always a unique take to it. There's always a very simple
more
setup.
grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was not. This was a masala. This one, so it was a bit eye opening for me lah. So basically, to in a nutshell, if I didn't like it.
Okay.
The story was like all over the place, and then too many slow-mos and all these fighting scenes and everything. Basically, if I want to simplify it, right, it's just like three guys who are into martial arts and very angry and just beat up anything that comes in their way, and then they have this muso and all that lah. But they were going all that. But it just, I don't know, for one of the guy was using these nunchucks, right?
So it's a grown-up Three Ninjas.
No, it's a grown-up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, bro. That's what it reminded me of. That this is like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. They are not turtles, and there's no 5 of them. There's only 3 of them. Serious.
There's no sensei lah. Sensei irukka?
No sensei got one sensei la, old guy.
It's not a rat lah.
அவர் கடைசி நேரத்துல ஒரு மாதிரி இதெல்லாம் பண்ணுவாரு. Then I was watching, then I wonder why I watched it. I was just like okay lah, never mind. It's okay. It's not well spent 2.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, Netflix is another story as well. Like sometimes when you go on Netflix, you don't know what to watch. Like,
They don't have anything that you want to watch.
There's so many things
you
to
just
look
watch
at.
randomly.
It's kind of crazy to think about it. When I mean, going back to just what you said earlier about comedy horrors and stuff, I don't see. I mean, comedy horror genre, especially in Tamil cinema and Hollywood, right? I think even right now we have Aranmanai 4, which is somewhat highly lauded, being that it's very fun to watch and all that. But as per track record, if you watch Aranmanai series, maybe the first one would be interesting, and then subsequently the second and third would be like I don't know, wouldn't be that interesting to watch lah.
Yeah.
Which I feel Tamil cinema has totally took that concept, beat it to until like it doubly.
They lost the plot.
Yeah, they squeezed the living shit out of it until you don't have anything really good to project or to produce lah. But there's one movie I would like to recommend in terms of horror comedy, and I think everyone should watch. If you're into horror and if you're into all this, especially like slapstick and comedy stuff, you should watch this movie called Encounters of the Spooky Kind. It's a 1980 movie directed by Sammo Hung. I think it's Cantonese.
1980.
Cantonese.
Yeah, I think it's Cantonese because more or less I can remember it's 1980. I just watched it a couple of days ago, and I can tell you it's one of the movies that if you are into all this weird, wacky horror stuff and whatever, if you like those kind of movies, you should certainly give it a go. Sammo Hung, prior to that, I've never watched any Sammo Hung movies in my life prior to that because I've never I never find him to be anywhere interesting as compared to Jackie Chan, for an example. Because Jackie Chan, is over there. And Sammo Hung is maybe like one level lower. I'm sorry, I'm not if you have any Sammo Hung fans you're watching, please don't attack me or whatever.
Pitchforks down. Listen.
But that movie really made me realize that, if you want to make a horror comedy, that's how you go. And the story is quite simple, actually. Like all movies that we're talking about, simple stories sometimes are the most effective ones.
Yeah.
And this story is very simple. This guy is just a low peasant. I guess like a peasant who just works as a cart driver or whatever. He has a wife. The wife is not happy with him. That's it. And the wife has an affair with his overlord. That's the whole concept of the movie. But the main plot, it's just about the wife cheating on the husband. And then the master just so happens to be almost get caught. He almost gets caught by it because Sammo Hung just goes to, in one of the scenes, Sammo Hung just goes, sits and eats taufufa. Just whacks taufufa with a couple of his friends. And then the taufufa seller will tell a story about, you guys are still doing this kind of job. Why don't you guys progress in your life or something like that? And then Sammo Hung will reply and say that, hey, you know what? it's actually good income. We do this work and we also get some tips along the way lah. And then this tofu fast teller will like tell a story about something. I said, let me tell you a story about something. There was once a guy who was like you, selling, was doing all his odd jobs and stuff. And one day he just went back home because he was hungry. And then as he was reaching home, he saw his wife sleeping with another man. Then there were three of them, including Sammo Hung. Three of them got panic and all that. It's like, oh, no, we're just gonna leave this place and stuff like that. Sammo Hung directly goes back to his place. I think his character name is kind of weird, Fat Guts or something like that. That's what's his name lah.
Chinese lah.
So he goes back home and he notices there's two guys looking through the peephole.
Oh.
And then he just sets them aside and he looks through the peephole and he can see, lo and behold, his wife is with someone.
Oh.
Okay. Then he loses his shit lah. He loses shit and all that. He tries to break in, force in, and turns out that one was his master lah. So one thing leads to another, and the master, because I think he's trying to become a mayor of that province or something like that, he figured out, okay, the best way to settle the situation is to kill Fat Guts. That's it. That's his mindset altogether. So that's where the whole jumpy, all these mystical things all will come into play. And this story is very simple, but the way it was presented was so amazing for me because the choreography in the martial arts, the use of makeup, the use of practical effects, and every single thing about the movie is so amazing to watch. And when you watch that movie as compared to now, when there's, you can see there's soul.
Yeah.
There's some effort put into this movie. There's a lot of effort in creating this story. Although it's a very simple story, as compared to a modern horror now or whatever modern horror comedy you do these days, which is more or less whacked and
like how they butchered the Jurassic Park franchise, isn't it?
Yeah. So
even how they keep repeating horror. Like one of the things I don't know about horror is the jump scares. Like,
yeah.
Very, very overdone.
I don't want to spoil too much about this movie. You guys definitely should watch the movie, and especially the final scene of this movie. I really don't know. It's like
keep that in mind.
Speaking of Hong Kong movies, I grew up with a lot of Hong Kong movies. So basically the Jackie Chan, Chow Yun-fat. Some of my favorite movies are like Hard Boil, Better Tomorrow, and all that.
Hard
right?
Boil is fucking good.
So towards the late 90s, right, there was a slump in the Hong Kong film industry. A lot of factors, like they basically say some of it was because of the financial crisis, and then there was censorship, alleged piracy, and all this kind of stuff, lah. So there was an effort to revive that cinema industry. And out of that, there were a group of people who teamed up and they released this movie in 2002, somewhere around the vicinity of near where Lord of the Rings was also running, right? And this movie, okay, it can't beat Lord of the Rings in terms of collection, lah. Okay, logically speaking, but it held its own. It stood there, it ran, and it revived Hong Kong cinema for that period of time. It was called Infernal Affairs. I love Infernal Affairs. I still love it until today. And basically, the story is it takes the point of view of two guys. One is a mole in the police force. One is a mole in the gangster. Both are not aware of each other's identities, and it's a cat and mouse game throughout the movie. The final payoff is not what one would expect. And in fact, because of that, they had two endings shot for China and Malaysia, especially because they say, oh, this is going to encourage people to do bad things and stuff like that. So the movie has, aside from that straightforward view of, the cat and mouse game, this guy trying to find out that identity and this identity, there was more to it because there was this whole, it alludes to the identity crisis Hong Kong was going through because Hong Kong was being handed back to China.
Right? It was in 97, isn't it?
Yes. So there was that issue where they are dealing with that Hong Kong is having an identity crisis of whether to, look there and look here. And then there's also some allusion to, abandoning that and going into the new thing and all that. So there's so much of hidden meanings in that movie. And the way the movie was made was so good. It's a very slow burner movie. It's not your all-out action. If you're used to watching things with Jackie Chan and all that stuff, right? It's not like that at all. It's a slow burner movie. In fact, my wife slept through the movie. She does not like Infernal Affairs. I don't know why she has no taste, but she like I said, there are people who are not into that movie. But if you have the patience to go through this movie, it's fantastic. It also spawned 2 sequels. One was a prequel, and one more was dealing with the aftermath of the first movie. Although the first movie was still the best lah, I still like that. I still hold that deep in me. Hong Kong did go back into a slump again. And the same team came back, I think like last year with the release of Goldfinger.
Oh,
right?
amazing.
It was like watching Infernal Affairs again. And I hope, Hong Kong cinema comes back, revives again, because, I love Hong Kong cinema a lot. I'm very attached to it in a way.
I'm not a big fan of Hong Kong cinema. I'm very much into it, but I will say one thing, Tony Leung is one fucking fantastic actor.
Tony Leung was in Infernal Affairs.
Yeah.
In fact, Infernal Affairs at that point was responsible for revitalizing the careers of Tony Leung and Andy Lau. Yeah, so it's a very important movie at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Are you into like all those kind of movies?
No, not into Oriental movies at all. Actually, I'm beginning to regret that, but it's okay. I'll get some
Not too late lah. Yeah.
inputs from you guys and probably watch a few lah.
I guess more or less, when people, I had an impression of Oriental movies. I always thought that it's always goofy. It's like out like rumba over the top. I remember my father had almost a very racist way of looking at Oriental movies. Like, என்ன படம் வந்து புல்லு மேல பறந்துக்கிட்டு இருப்பானுங்க அந்த படம் தானே. That's how they usually look at that. I mean, movies from Hong Kong or China or whatever, right? But as you grow older, you get exposed to a lot of things lah, and then there's a lot of
I
Asian
think
movies
like Chinese movies. I think from Hong Kong, like the one that I really like pernah dengar and I've watched is like the Young and Dangerous franchise.
Oh, I love that.
Those days were very cool lah. Very, I know it was like very sensationalizing gangsterism and all that.
They went nuts with Storm Riders lah.
I was about to just say that because when as I was Standard 1 and Standard 2 on the Storm Riders was the
cool.
was the shit at the time.
It was the shit.
I didn't know what was going on at that time because I was a kid watching Tamil movies. Rajinikanth, Kamal Haasan and the Mari padam. Then I had a friend. He's half Chinese, half Indian. He's Indian by the way. Why did I say half Chinese, half Indian? Okay, that guy was going on about Storm Riders, Iken Cheng and Aaron Kwok and all that. Then I was like, what is this about? Then he said it's based on a comic book story. Is it really a comic book story? Right. So he had like a card. Back then when we go and Tikkam all the cards, they got a trading cards and stuff. Or he brought all that Storm Riders card, and I'm like, then I'm very interesting. Like it just kind of gave me that interest that I should invest in that as well.
See, the problem is all these movies you guys are telling, I don't know Storm Riders. Seriously, I don't know.
Oh yes.
The reason being, like, this was all in the 90s, early 90s.
Yes.
Right? I grew up with Malays. So I never really like looked at Chinese movies lah.
Sembilu?
But Sembilu I know, but I probably watched it also on TV lah. I don't know lah. Probably I did lah. For Era Fazira. Was she in this one Sembilu kan? Era Fazira, right? I really like her lah. Okay.
Pontianak Harum Sundal Malam.
That one is Maya Karin, is it?
Yep.
Oh,
Someday she'll be sitting here with us.
someday Maya Karin should be on our show.
Yeah.
We hope so. Right? Okay. Speaking, never mind, let's not get to Maya Karin. One thing I wanted to ask, I wanted to throw out is when it comes to movies, like, I'm like you also. I think like both of you guys also, like, I really like to choose the movies I really want to watch. Because I don't, not to say I don't like to waste time watching movies or what, but it might as well be worth the time lah, right? So there's this 2013 movie called Coherence. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Watched it, right?
Yes.
So it was very interesting. Is why, because when we mention sci-fi movies, always what comes to mind is like sci-fi fantasy, like Star Wars or like Interstellar, and there's a lot of Minority Report. So many science fiction movies, right? This science fiction movie, however, is very practical in the sense of it wasn't very grand with a lot of CGI and all that. It's just this bunch of friends, 8 of them, having a dinner party at home lah. And then there's a comet passing, and that comet passing seems to have an effect with space and time and their existence itself lah. So it's not a very confusing movie, but it was a very interesting take where, because there's no the normal element of science fiction that you would expect from a sci-fi movie. It was like very grounded in that sense, but it was very good writing.
It sort of removes the fiction out of it.
Yes. So what makes it interesting is like, that's the first time that I thought like, you can make a sci-fi film like this also, and just purely
Realism.
through realism and all that. அதே மாதிரி வந்து like something similar to that, but it's not as simple as Coherence, as in the making of it, like not as simple as Coherence, but there's another movie called Triangle. Triangle also is like a time loop movie, but it takes place in the ship lah. It's quite weird also. It's not very highly rated, but it's like sort of like critically acclaimed movies lah, It's not very highly rated, like it's a very niche genre one, and takes like very group of people who can appreciate it lah.
But some of the movies, the crowd, they can't appreciate it. It's normal.
Also, like we always speak about movies that we like and all that. Let's see. Okay, just very quickly lah. What's the? I don't get into the story of it or whatever. We don't have to narrate the story. I'm just gonna ask like, what's the weirdest movie you've watched, and why?
Beneath Still Waters.
Beneath Still Waters.
Beneath Still Waters is a horror movie. It had a fantastic trailer. It was, I'm sorry, dog shit. Basically, the best scene in the entire movie, I hope I don't get censored, is basically the start scene where the demonic guy goes and kills a child by ripping the child in half.
Oh my God.
That's the only good thing in the movie. I am not advocating killing children, but I'm saying you don't actually come across a horror movie which does that a lot. Aside from that, the movie is dull all the way, and then it comes to the ending. I think I slept through the movie, and then the ending, I woke up and then I saw the kid was like telling the mother, I hate you, and then like the end of the world happens. That's it. It was weird and it was very stupid. Okay.
Weird movie. I think I've watched in my fair share. I think I've watched a lot of weird movies in my late 20s, mid 20s. But when you said weird movie, the first thing that came to my mind was Rubber. I don't know whether you've heard of
Rubber is about that psychopath tire, is it? Was that
Yes,
the one?
yes.
Yeah. I read the synopsis. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I didn't watch it lah.
Rubber is actually directed by this French electronic artist lah. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It's Mr. Wazo or something. So it tells a story about this tire who goes on a murderous rampage. That's it. The story is just that. A tire just keeps going from one location to another. It bounces off something and then hits someone and then murders. And there's like...
So it's better than
At
Beneath
least
Still
they were
Waters.
like a bit. At least they were a bit creative with the title, lah, right? Like Rubber. Okay, then you have to read further to see what is it about. Unlike Shark Tornado, what is it about? Shark Tornado.
It is straightforward.
For me, right, there's this movie called I don't know whether you've heard of it as well. Probably nobody has heard of it lah. It's called Yellow Brick Road.
Okay.
There's this. It's a very simple story lah. Like in a village, one day everybody just walked through the woods and just disappeared. And then there's this group of students who want to go and see what the fuck is going on lah. After like so many years, the movie like didn't have a very solid story or whatever, but the sound design of the movie, right, is very disorienting.
Oh, okay.
So I watched it in this small studio control room. We had a studio last time with my friends and all that. So we had a iMac and then a couch and everything. We just watched because it's like this lah. It had like all the soundproof thing and everything. So when we came out, right, and I asked all my friends, like, what actually you think about the movie, and nobody could say anything. I was like that. They just went like, it's like very susah to hadam lah. This thing like I don't know what to tell you. Even now, so I don't know what to tell you. It was just purely weird. Okay, now I don't think we have much time, so we need to get into animals. We wanted to talk about that.
But can we just? I want to select something when you mentioned about that. There's one movie that I think everybody should watch. So I think it's the way it's meant and the way it was shot. It's quite creative, and if I'm not mistaken, the pronunciation is irreversible or irreversible. I don't know how you pronounce it in French. It's from this crazy ass director called I keep forgetting his name. It's a bald guy. He did all kinds of weird shit movies, and that's also one movie that he made called Enter the Void. That's also a really fucked up movie actually. Gaspar Noé. I think Gaspar Noé. I think he's an Argentinian French.
Yeah, Gaspar Noé. Yeah.
This guy, if you ask me.
Oh, this movie is the Monica Bellucci that they had this very that scene.
Yeah,
right?
this movie.
Monica Bellucci.
Yeah.
And if you guys are wondering what Vinod is trying to say, is actually there's a scene where Monica Bellucci is actually raped in a subway
Yeah, it was
station.
very
or something.
difficult
It's
to
like
watch, yeah.
it's in a tunnel and she actually gets raped. And that rape scene is quite realistic
Yeah.
to a point
Yeah,
where,
yeah, it
where
was-
to a point where you feel like, is it really happening? Like, is she really being raped or what? But going to that movie, right? There's something that I'm not very entirely correct about the actual fact on it, but it turns out in that movie, the director actually had it. He inserted a type of sound wave or something throughout the movie to make you feel queasy.
Ah.
So throughout the movie and the sound wave போய்கிட்டே இருக்கும். But it's not something you can actually capture easily inside your ears. It's something like within a certain frequency.
Very low frequency kind of thing.
Within a certain frequency. So when you watch the movie itself, you will have that sort of like a disorienting feeling and you feel like
Try watching it with your dog.
Oh no.
He's gonna be like,
That's definitely going to happen. But that's a movie that is quite interesting. Also, another weird movie is Enter the Void. Brother dies, brother reincarnates back to the sister through delivery. That's the whole gist of it. That's it. But the whole process of it is crazy. You should watch that kind of movies. Like if you like all this kind of weird stuff.
Speaking of that, very quickly, I have not watched like a lot of movies on IMAX, but there's the IMAX cinema, right? There's this one movie I really loved it. It was Dunkirk.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that experience was something.
Dunkirk
I
was
came out of
fantastic,
the cinema, so I was like,
a very good movie.
kept thinking of the movie like for 2 days, and I had to like go and watch it again. I watched again in IMAX also. It's like, that was very,
It's a
very
very
well
good
done.
movie,
Very
yeah.
well done.
The Batman in IMAX also was
Batman in IMAX.
fucking
Anything from Nolan in IMAX is a must. Yeah.
So yeah, you were saying something about
I have one recommendation.
Yeah.
I'll just throw out a
No,
quick
man, go
one. Because most of the movies that I'm attached to are very slightly older movies. It's the only movie that is coming out post 2022 that I'm very, very attached to because of my history with it, which is actually an animated movie. It's called The First Slam Dunk. If anyone familiar with the manga or the anime, Takehiko Inou's work, The First Slam Dunk was actually the story of the final chapter of the manga, which was not done in the anime because of many reasons. And I'm very attached to it because I spent most of my teenage years watching and reading Slam Dunk, playing basketball as well. And this movie made me cry multiple times in the cinema. My wife, who does not watch anime, decided to follow me to watch, and her face was like, I can't believe I'm watching anime in a cinema. She came out saying it's a good movie, although she has refused to watch it again with me the other 69 times. So... And she also turned and saw like, are you crying in the cinema? Then she turned, watch, and then she watched another 15 minutes passes. She turned, you still crying? So I'm very attached to the movie personally. Just a recommendation. You don't need to even read the manga and watch the anime because the movie is made in a way where it's standalone. You can easily understand it. Like my wife easily understood the movie. She does not read manga. She does not like anime, and she actually understood the movie. So that's a personal recommendation of mine. Yeah. Let's go to Animal.
Animal.
This is a very difficult topic, but that's...
Toxic masculinity is fantastic if it's applied properly.
What do you guys think about the movie?
That's a very unpopular opinion.
Before I can give my take on it. Like, what do you guys think of the movie Animal though?
Okay.
We want to talk about it. Actually, we want to
Yeah.
talk about it the other day, but jadi. Remember?
Yeah.
But go ahead. What do
You go first. You go first.
For me, right, I always thought the negative review that was keep coming out before the movie was, even after the trailer and right after the movie was released. So I thought it was some sort of preconceived notion, like people like already decided that it's
that's what I
a
feel
bad
also.
movie. But I tried to just watch it with an open mind. Prior to that movie, what's the other movie that he did?
Arjun Reddy and
Arjun Reddy, right? Okay, Arjun Reddy, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was like very crazy, like it was very crazy. Animal, however, it has that same essence of Arjun Reddy and all that. But then somehow I felt, after I watched the movie, right, I watched his interview, the director's interview, and he simply said this thing that he said, I made a movie about flawed men. So it was just as simple as that.
Yes.
So I don't want to get too deep into it, like what's right and what's wrong, and all the part of the movies, like, they call like, what's the word?
Toxic.
No, the other word.
Misogynist.
Misogynist, right?
Famous
Yeah.
buzzwords in these days.
It's a buzzword. It's a buzzword.
It's a misogyny movie, and that. Yes, I agree. There are parts of it that I wouldn't
to
say
be-
like appear to be misogyny, but I don't think they were advocating it necessarily.
They're not advocating it.
Yeah.
It appears to be, yes.
Yeah. So I thought it was very well done in terms of if it's a genre by its own. I think it's as a standalone genre of movie. Like I think it was very well done technically also. And the best part I love about the movie was the trailer cut. That was
Yes.
fantastic cut.
Amazing
the,
trailer,
The
actually.
editing was very nice. I really loved it. But I don't want to dive deep into the whole structure of the movie or what's the take home from that and all that. But generally, I think it was okay. I kind of like it.
I think more or less people seem to, like what you said earlier, people just react based on what they see, like within 50 seconds of a video.
They take things out of context
and
because of short
yeah,
videos.
correct. And then you have people who are, they never watched the movie yet they judge on it. It's like example, I've never watched Barbie. I was not part of the whole Barbenheimer phase, so I didn't watch Oppenheimer until today. I didn't even watch Barbie until today. But if you like Barbie, it's on you. You like it, you enjoy it, it's fine. I'm not going to sit there and tell you like, hey, what you watching Barbie, all kids movie. And the go ahead, watch whatever you want. Whatever you take from it, go ahead. But if you just watch a 50 seconds clip over on the internet and you make an assumption, especially I think most of them are the females, they get very pissed off with that one particular scene when
The blue-haired ones.
yeah, the blue hat ones. Especially that one scene where Ranvijay, played by Ranbir, goes to Rashmika and say like that famous dialogue. I keep saying that dialogue to everybody, but now I forget it.
Something about the hips, is it?
Gitanjali, you have a childbearing hips or something like that. That thing. I think your hips are very big or something like that. You have childbearing hips or whatever. That particular dialogue, when நிறைய பேர் losing their mind over it. Yes, he's a flawed character. He's a crazy guy. He's not somebody that you're gonna like. I'm gonna worship him. He's my role model. Because whatever you watch in that movie, you cannot actually apply them in real life. It does not make sense. The fellow goes around butchering like hundreds of people and then walks out of it like nothing. There's no repercussions. There's no police coming after him. There's nothing at all. So people tend to look at it in a very bad light rather than just looking at it in
The very surface level.
yeah, just look,
Very surface.
just watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you it's not you're not forced to watch it. If you watch it and then maybe you have a look at it, you'll probably understand. And I think the director Sun-J Perumal, I guess he is placing himself very different from other directors because in today's day and age when everyone is trying to be very safe, I don't want to offend these people. I don't want to offend this particular community. I don't
Politically
want-
correct.
yeah, this guy goes all out, goes like balls deep into everything and just like bulldozes his way through it. And he does it in a very good way. The movie is like almost close to 3 hours, but to me personally, I didn't felt like it was slacking off at
And the
all.
movie is good, you would not feel it.
Yeah, it's so good. And that's what I take away. I had a lot of issues with the movie. I argued with a lot of people. I've even had I even watched it first time with a date and we ended up fighting because I had a different way of looking at it. I said like, this guy is fucking good. And then she was like telling me, she just reacted very badly and then we ended up fighting.
No, I understand why people react that way as well. It's how you look at it. Actually, that's why that's not. I won't say it's right or wrong. It's just the character. His character is like that. So it's a story of flawed man. It's as simple as that. Actually,
They're actually exposing his flawed personality. It's not aggrandizing him. It's not tales of grandeur. It's actually showing a very flawed person. If you actually sat down and watched the movie, you will understand that you're watching a flawed person showing his flawed side. Everyone is flawed, right? And you cannot be a perfect person. You sitting down and commenting about the movie from YouTube and all that, you are not perfect. And that's the same to that person. That's the story of the person. All you have to do is sit and watch for the context. You may not have time for 3 hours. I didn't have time. I watched the movie in parts, right? Today I watched 20 minutes. Yeah, I only had that much time. And then I next day 20 minutes and such. My wife sort of watched it with me. She didn't really complain about it. She just was like, this guy is crazy. That's it. That's it. She didn't go and like, oh, this guy, is that this? No. How can you watch this? Oh, I should divorce you now. No. So didn't, she just watched, is like, this guy is crazy. That's it, So she gets the context. She gets the context about it. She's a woman, she watched it, she got it,
I think it's still available on Netflix though. I think,
Yeah, still there.
Those of you who haven't watched it, or maybe you were living under a rock or what, please go and watch this movie. Actually, it's quite good. It's a different way of filmmaking at this time, like, because everyone's playing very safe. Everyone doesn't want to offend anyone. But here's a guy that goes like, I don't care pretty much about it. I just want to make a movie. This is my way of telling a story. And then another thing, films are borderless. You cannot expect a specific film to be, any film to be in a specific line or pattern.
Somehow someone will be offended by something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even they might be offended by us, like, so
Someone's going to be offended by us, that's for sure.
So definitely we'll wait for that in the comments. And I think we can call it a wrap for today. And as always, if you have made this long and watched us talking out of our minds or whatever, I want to swear Teddy, but கொஞ்சம் PG-13 இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு நான் வந்து ஒன்றும் சொல்லிக்கல.
This is our effort to connect a bit to the people, because you can also comment and tell us what kind of stuff you connect with the movies.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and also tell us about your points. You would have watched the same movies as us, and you would have viewed it differently. Yeah.
And if you have any more, like what Prakash said, any movies that we've mentioned about, if you have anything to say about that movies also, please go ahead and leave them in the comment section. And as always, we appreciate all the time and your support throughout the journey of this Blackseed Theory. You can always follow us on our platforms, which is quite obvious: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And please subscribe us on YouTube and also on Spotify. We will be alternating more or less with more guests here and there. We have upcoming guests that might be controversial. You don't know yet. We're trying to punching one person.
We are trying to punching a very controversial
That person comes. If the person comes here, I think more or less it's going to be. We see how it goes first, lah. Okay, so we expect that to happen, and if it does, then definitely we will. So let's
see you in jail.
No, speaking of jail, there's one particular dialogue I like in Sheriff. Before we call it a day, I like that one dialogue. But I can't remember exactly what the dialogue was. It's like, ini Malaysia, Perdana Menteri pun boleh masuk penjara. That's pretty decent. I think I've never seen any local movie that can go with that type of dialogue. It's really, really good. But depends on how you look at it. Like if you're a supporter of that.
Again, context matters.
Yeah.
Again, context matters.
It's a good, and Zulariffin, it's good. I think I like Zulariffin in the movie compared to everybody else. That's all.
Okay. I think you need to drop the email.
Oh yeah, please. Especially that email address we keep.
I've been refreshing it, still 0.
Yeah, please send us some comments to vandakadinga@gmail.com.
We get your comments in our videos in YouTube and all that. That's nice, but type something longer and send us an email.
We actually got one particular comment which I said earlier, which can be a bit controversial, but we are trying to get that person in. More or less, that person gave a very long and I won't say constructive criticism. It's quite negative. So we actually reached out to that person and he hasn't got back to us. If he gets back to us, it'll be fun. But going back to the email, please leave your valuable comments and your feedback to vandakadinga@gmail.com, VANTHUKADINGGE@gmail.com. And until the next episode, we'll see you. Thank you so much and bye.
Bye-bye.